I was so close. It had been more than 2 weeks since I'd seen her. I had plenty of things to say, but I wanted to know her story too. Why would she run up to the attic? Why were her clothes different? What had she done in January? Just thinking about it made the time go by swiftly. The end was truly near. I stood up and walked out. She must have been about to appear. I didn't have the voice recorder with me, but it had been close to half an hour. I stood still, trying to perceive the faintest sound. And it came. Finally, I heard what I'd been desperately wishing for. Footsteps were approaching. Huh? What? It wasn't who I'd been expecting. Mia and the Atsuki she'd been with were there, staring deep into my eyes. We've seen that scene from the other two's perspective. What the fuck? What the fuck? Why are they here? Mia should be in the attic. Hey, answer me. You really were here. Are you really me? What the fuck is going on? I didn't think you'd be here. What? What does that mean? You're me, right? I am. What the fuck is happening then? I thought it was impossible that we'd see each other. Is that wrong? In a way, yes. What the fuck? Tell me then. What's going on? How the fuck can you even exist? I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to answer that question. What? I know exactly how you feel, I promise. I will tell you one thing though, since we've already met. You shouldn't worry about anything. It must be too early. When we appeared in this world, Shiria spent a short while on the crystal floor. It must not be time yet. I shouldn't worry. There's no way you're actually me, right? I am. I promise. It will all be fine. What? How can you tell? And how would that even be possible? I know how it sounds, but I genuinely don't have time to explain, and I'm not sure I could. What does that even mean? Look, we're the same person. Just trust me or yourself on this. Sincerely, everything should turn out fine. When you heard that, I saw my own body crumple down and my heart ached. I didn't want to imagine how I felt. You believe me, right? Like I said, I don't have much time. But that can't be the case. Shiria died again. Again? What do you mean? Do you not know that? She was killed here, and her body disappeared from the lobby. What? What does that mean? It can't be. She won't be in the tower. This is the same as before. Someone is telling me that Shiria's fate within the tower is death. Why have so many people said that? It's not true. I've never seen her dead. That must be a mistake. She'll be fine. It's impossible that she will die in the tower. We'll make sure of that. You should believe what I say. I still don't fully understand how that works, but you have to trust me. You can't explain it? Then there's no way you're actually telling the truth, right? I am. While I can't be fully confident about what I'm saying, I'll just ask you to believe me. Okay. Good. I suppose there's one thing you could do then. What? Wait here a second. I turned around and went to the attic, where Mia should have been. The Sekimeiya is still here, neither of them were activated. What the hell then? I don't get what happened. There was no time to wonder. After I grabbed the future Sekimeiya, I dashed back out. Huh? Take this, but don't touch it. I handed him the Sekimeiya. You two should hurry back down. On the second floor, enter the second partition. Leave the Sekimeiya on the floor and wait there. On the second floor? Yes. From there, if anyone passes by, you should hear them. If you hear the elevator 4 times, you can go back down and place the Sekimeiya in its cabinet. Make sure that it isn't activated again. However, it's possible that the first time, instead of hearing the elevator, you'll hear someone running up. If that happens, once you hear the elevator 2 times, you can go down and place the Sekimeiya in the cabinet. I wasn't completely sure if Shiria would walk up or take the elevator. However, a while after that, they would hear Erina and my past self taking it. That would be their cue to go down. Now, okay, and after that you're saying everything will be fine, right? Yes. Wait patiently with everyone on the crystal floor and make sure to get out safely. I'll pray with you for what will happen after that. Alright. The other Atsuki didn't waste time. As soon as he said that, he ran back toward the stairs. Goodbye, Mia. It took all I had in me to say that and nothing more. It was a second goodbye. I would never see her again. Goodbye. Oblivious to the gravity of her farewell, she turned around and left my sight. Once I could no longer hear their running, I found myself standing alone. I couldn't bring myself to move. If nothing happened very soon, I would have been wrong about everything. When I heard the elevator, all the tension within me was released. She was there. She'd called the elevator from the crystal floor. I waited, and seconds later, I heard it again. Wait, what? Why did I hear it again? Doesn't that mean that it's going to the attic? Oh, that's right, she had the key. I bolted off as fast as I could. She was in the hallway. When she saw me, it was apparent we'd both been looking for each other. There you are, you did come. Forgotten you had the key to the attic. Are you the Atsuki from this morning? Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't wrong. You knew I would come, right? You remembered what happened. I nodded slowly. I was right about everything. We had reunited in a world other than our own. Have you been here all this time? When you disappeared this morning, I tried to find you, but I was in another world, right? I see. So she really is the same person who was here this morning. I think so. I learned a lot of things. It's been longer than you think since I saw you. What do you mean? You said the recording was real, right? What happened at 9? And why did both of us appear at the start of today? Why did we travel to this morning? I know the answer now. I remember what you told me. You said you traveled to the 30th of November and that a few days later you touched the Sekimeiya in the tower. Is that right? Yes, that's when I appeared with you in the lobby. No, that's wrong. I know what happened to you. She frowned. It seemed she hadn't entertained the possibility. You didn't go to November. You went to the future. What? No, I didn't. I went 2 weeks to the past. I don't know why you think that, but I believe you went to the future. You said that you entered the tower in early December. I believe that was the 5th of January instead. 5th of January? That doesn't make any sense. Like I said, the recording was real. On the 5th of January, we were in the tower. That's why when you touched the Sekimeiya, I appeared with you in the lobby. No. How would I have gone to the future? There's no way. With the Sekimeiya, there were 2 of them. I saw that too. What do you mean though? I thought about everything that happened. There always were 2 Sekimeiya, but only one of them made us go to the past. The other one made us go to the future instead. The one in the water tank sent you to the future, but that wasn't the first time. It wasn't the first time you traveled forward in time. There were others. She looked astonished. For a while she didn't respond. Are you serious? I am. I've been able to understand the Sekimeiya. The future Sekimeiya made us appear where we were in the past. I believe that could be part of your confusion. The past Sekimeiya made us appear where we would be in the future. And if both ranges overlapped, the world around us would change instead. Oh, that makes sense. That's how I came back. She stared off into the hallway, working with the information I'd given her. When she opened her mouth again, she asked what she most wanted an answer to. So, what now? What will happen at 9? It'll be fine. We'll be able to leave. She breathed a sigh of relief. Everything could finally end. This isn't over yet, though. We have to do one more thing. We are going to save Mia. What? Really? Can the past really be changed after all? That's not it. The past is set in stone. In a different world, though, the past is no different from the future for us. Huh? We can save her in this world. If you travel, you can save her. It has to be you, though. What do you mean? I walked to the kitchen. The recorder's timer showed 44:24. That is the past Sekimeiya. If you activate it, when the timer reaches 63:14, you'll appear on November 30th. If you're there, Mia will not die. I can't come with you though. If you activate it, anyone in the center of the building will go back to our world. If I travel to the past too, I won't be able to be there. But if it's you who does this, you will be. When December 15th comes, you'll be able to enter through the storeroom. And if you stay in the third partition on the fourth floor, you'll make it back to this point. She looked overwhelmed. There was very little time left, so I was trying to explain everything rapidly. Wait, so I'll be able to prevent her death, and then at this time both of us will go back to our world? When I nodded, her eyes briefly widened. The seconds were passing quickly, so I had to make sure I could say everything I needed to. You will appear on November 30th, where you will be on December 30th. If you think about where you'll be, that's where you'll appear. What? On December 30th, you have to be in that gem shop, so that you appear there in November. In the gem shop? I don't think that will be possible. It was still closed. In that case, right outside it. It was snowing on November 30th, wasn't it? I bit my lip. I didn't know what would happen if she were to appear right on top of falling snow, given what had happened to me with the elevator's railing. You'll have to be below a stone roof, where the snow won't hit you, and there'll be none on the ground. Then you'll be able to prevent Mia from being hit by the explosion. That's not all, though. There's something else very important. Your body can't be found. Mine? I nodded, although I still didn't fully understand that. Why was her body the one that had to go missing? If the news had to be merely followed, why couldn't Mia's be the one that wouldn't be found despite her well-being? The only reason it had to be Shiria's was because I knew Mia was in the tower. I still felt like there might have been something else to all of that. Then, early on the 15th, you'll be able to enter the tower through the storeroom. You still have the rusty key, right? Yes. She showed it to me. You'll be able to stay in the third partition on the fourth floor. I know that'll work, because after 2 PM, you go to the 6th floor and leave some kind of indication for me under one of the drawers. The 5th desk from the left in the first partition. After that, you'll only need to leave momentarily at 3:30. If you're in the floor 2 and 3 staircase, you'll avoid being inside the range of a travel. The range might actually reach the crystal floor, but if you're in a corner of the building a floor above, you'll avoid it. Just not in the crystal floor staircase, since that's where I was at the time. Okay. I'm sorry, there's not much time left. 50:06. I had to leave soon to escape the range, and I wasn't sure if I'd explained myself well at all. Something about the rush I was in felt paradoxical, but I had no time to try to think about it. Let me check that nobody's in the bedrooms anymore. I don't know what happened to them, but someone might still be here. I looked at the 4 separate bedrooms, which were all vacant. Meanwhile, I felt my fingers beginning to tremble. Shiria was there again, and it seemed as if the future finally had a distinct shape. That's it then. Everything is ready. It will work, I'm sure. Yeah. Can I ask though, why are your clothes like this? Oh, I put them on hoping I would come back to the point where you saw me. Really? That's interesting. In fact, it seemed to go against most conclusions I'd made. There was no time to care though. Wait, you have the attic key. You should give it to me. You need it? No, but you will on January 26th. If I don't take it now, you won't be able to have it. Because at 9 today the police will find you, and they'll take this key from you if you have it. I need to keep it. And they won't take it if you have it? No. I tell you why, but there's not enough time right now. 5 minutes were left until she would travel to the past. For me, I was 5 minutes away from returning to our world with her. I grabbed the past Sekimeiya and left it on the highest cabinet shelf, where it wasn't easy to see. If you activate it when it's there, in the instance that the people from this world come back up, it's possible they won't find it. I see. I should go. I'm sure your future self is currently on the 4th floor. She's been there for hours. You understand everything I said, right? I think so. When that screen says 6314, I just have to touch the Sekimeiya. You'll appear on the 30th, next to that gem shop. I have to go now, but I guess I'm about to see you again. I'm sorry that there wasn't more time to explain. Alright, I'll see you. But before I knew it, my body had jumped forward in a sudden impulse and was tightly embracing Shiria. I couldn't stand the thought of anything going wrong from that point on. Right next to my ear, I felt her surprised breath, and after the initial shock, her hands slowly tightened up behind me. I couldn't believe what was happening, but I took advantage of it and rested my head on her shoulder. I wished the moment could go on forever, but the clock was ticking. When I let go of her, I couldn't bring myself to say anything else or even look directly at her again. It was hard to turn around, but I had to. With my body still shaking, I trudged to the stairs, aware it was the last time my footprints would be left on that floor. "63 minutes. Shiria tightly gripped the device that had once been found in Isla's purse while her heart raced from Atsuki's sudden hug. Her other hand was reaching high above her, close to the Sekimeiya as she withstood the immense heat around it. She hadn't traveled to the past, but she was about to. She stared firmly at the numbers on the screen and gradually moved her hand deeper into the heat. After 14 more seconds had gone by, she felt the hard touch. Light snow was falling on the dim street of Yoshibana. Despite the few lit windows, not one of them saw the figure of a young girl appearing by the entrance of a house below a stone roof. She found herself leaning on the cold wall and rapidly looked down. There she was able to see some of the footprints she'd once left. She traced them up to an opaque door on the opposite side of the street. Wasting no time, she dashed over and opened it. Remnants of the smoke were in the air. It had already been released, but it wasn't too late. On the floor, she saw the first two people to fall unconscious, those who had already escaped danger. Behind the shelves were two girls. One was being protected by the wooden structures, whereas the other was an open target. She crouched and grabbed the shoulders of the girl in red, shuffling backward to drop her behind the shield of shelves. Once that danger was removed, she stood up and looked at her own body on the floor. She didn't know the exact time, but her work wasn't finished yet. She picked herself up by her shoulders and began to retreat. However, a slight sound caused her to spin around and her heart skipped a beat. She didn't see the door opening, because a wooden shelf was blocking it. However, soon after she heard its squeaky sound, the lights turned off. There was practically no time to react. During the instants before the light came back, the girl closed her eyes and attempted to cover her face with her arms. The floor had been devastated, and she found herself falling with the rubble, the deadly light shrinking as she was consumed by familiar darkness. She saw something shining above and heard very faint shouts. Her entire body was racked with pain, but she was able to stand up. When she looked around her, she saw there was light there too. An X-shaped gemstone had rolled away, and it gave off a soft glow. She heard a moan laced with pain. Her other self was conscious. She had been holding her as they'd fallen. That time, neither of them had lapsed into a lengthy unconsciousness. Her friend had told her something very important. Her own body couldn't be found. She didn't understand why, but a realization immediately came to her. As she took a slow step back, she saw her own self awakening. It was difficult to make out, but she saw that the other her was staring at the distant gemstone. That was when she understood that the universe would do the rest, that she didn't have to enact something that was already meant to happen. She stepped back. She knew the way out of there. Meanwhile, the other girl approached the stone. The act of her touching it would be the driving force behind a forthcoming attack in her town. The girl found herself looking out upon a nostalgic view, but the snow was still piling up to form the scenery she'd once seen. Once more, she began walking to her empty apartment. And when she realized that it would soon be December 1st, her destination changed. She had once felt a false sense of freedom walking down that path, but the kind she felt the second time was genuine. She knew where the path went. It led to a place she hadn't thought existed, and one that she was eager to reach. I arrived on the fourth floor and looked at the wall to my right. She had to be on the other side of it. Nobody had been found, but she was there. I opened the door to the last partition. been a while. Yeah. She rose from the chair she'd been sitting in, but she looked worn out. Although I had just left the attic for her, that had happened 15 days in the past. Did everything work out? Before she could answer, we heard a noise. It sounded like the elevator had opened. Then he's here. I didn't Has it been enough time already? The bleeding... I looked at Shiria. We were back. It had really worked. That was happening on the 3rd floor, near the staircase. Our past selves had returned too, although they were unaware of it. The voices hardly reached us, but I could understand them since I knew what they were saying. That's not That's right. My past self was waiting outside the partitions after having traveled to the past. Right now, Shiria's in the attic and Sai's on the crystal floor. What were you gonna say? Everything did go well, but I saw Mia earlier. She came in here once, and I'm pretty sure she saw me. She didn't say anything, though. I almost froze from the shock, but before I could react, she had already left. Really? She nodded, still puzzled. So it really had been like that. It had happened as I'd imagined it. I didn't get it. I'd known that she wouldn't be found thanks to the drawing under the drawer. Before seeing it, I hadn't come up with a reason to explain why Mia hadn't found her. But at that point, I had realized that one wasn't needed. That if she simply stayed there, she wouldn't be found. I still couldn't understand what had happened. What about the you from the other world? Is she okay? Yes, she wasn't found at the site of the explosion, but she wasn't harmed. Why couldn't she be found? To match the news report that I saw, I did travel to November 2 before you did, but I failed to accomplish anything. I know, I saw you at the hostel. I thought about staying there in case someone found me in my apartment. You were there? By the way, what keeps happening to your clothes? They're the ones you entered the tower with again, but you didn't have them when you went to the past. Oh yeah, they're the ones from that world. I see. That time right before 9. I did think that something about her looked strange. It was so late into the day that I didn't realize it was the complete lack of smoke on her clothes. And her pendant is gone too. The thing that tied her with Mia disappeared when she went to the future. She took a digital watch out of her purse. You bought a watch? That's smart. It's 1937. Shira pointed out very faint footsteps coming from the other side of the wall. Although I hadn't noticed them, I knew she was right. That's us, myself, Sai and Erina. We're going to the attic. They went around the floor and disappeared up to the next staircase. Now what then? I don't know what happened at the end. Let's go down first. I need to do something very important. Okay. I had very little strength within me, and Shiria looked dizzy when she moved. We took our time walking down, knowing full well that there was nobody left beneath us. Let's go to the security room. Kate's dead body was there, filling the room with a stench I'd forgotten about. The monitors were working, which meant that someone had been there 50 minutes previously. Although it was slightly strange, I could barely bring myself to care. Actually, I bet I know why. Only Sai could have used the computer, and not too long ago. He traveled to the past from the event room with Shiria. I would have disabled his watch, but the next time we saw him it was working. Every time that happened, he must have come here to sync it with the computer's time. There was a drawer with a bunch of batteries. What's that? A USB drive I brought to the tower in the other world. I have enough to put Kate and Akro in jail with the footage on this. Once the computer detected it, I saved 2 copies of the file. The normal folder with the saved footage was nowhere to be found, so I left them elsewhere. If necessary, I would tell the location to the police. Then I left the drive behind one of the drawers so that it could also be found. By the way, you left the rusty key outside the storeroom, right? Was that so that it wouldn't open from the inside? Yes. That's what I thought. Not completely sure how much sense it makes yet, but there's nothing I can do to fight it. I have the rusty key right here too, by the way, but there's a slight problem. I'll need it on January 5th, and since you gave up yours, you'll also need this one on December 30th. Oh, I guess so. I looked under the desk. A Sekimeiya was there. This is the past Sekimeiya. My past self traveled with it very recently in the staff room, and Sai brought it here. It doesn't have a lot of power right now. I left the rusty key on the floor of hallway A and closed the door. We need to duplicate it, otherwise we won't be able to have it on those days. She didn't seem to know why that was the case. I'll go a very short distance back in time one last time. Since I left the key outside this room, my past self will be able to grab it and have it in the future. And since that will let me appear with it, I won't have to really grab it, which will duplicate it. Will that actually work? Yes. As soon as I leave, open the door. Alright. I stepped back and touched the Sekimeiya. The light went out, but I knew where I was before I looked around me. The mechanical room. I confirmed that the rusty key was in my pocket. When I went to hallway A, I saw it on the floor too. I didn't have to wait very long until the security room opened. There we go, now we have two. Take this one. The movements of the rusty key were interesting. Shido had found it on January 5th in our world. Then she had traveled to December 15th and had still been holding it. Later she had traveled to November 30th and had still been holding it. However, she'd used it to lock the storeroom from outside in the other world, which meant it couldn't be recovered. When we had talked, she had told me about its location, so I'd been able to find it in the other world's security room as well. That was the key we had just duplicated. However, it was the one she ended up with, and it was the one she would have on January 26th. In other words, when she had appeared on the 15th, she hadn't been holding the same key she'd found. The fact that she'd had to leave it outside the storeroom had made it transform. What she'd appeared with had been a mesh of both. To obtain that key, both had been needed, and in a single instant it had changed from the key of our world to the key of the other world. The powered off Sekimeiya was on the floor, so I put it back where I found it, and there was no reason to do otherwise. We need to go to the mechanical room, the others will come back soon. It's 1945, I'll travel to the past soon. Sorry, to the future. Yeah, they must be coming down already. So, you stayed at Eagle Hostel too? Yes, I was there until today. I didn't realize the owner was a native. We heard people above us. The group was beginning their wait near the shutter. Will it be fine if we stay here? Not quite. Once you leave for the bathroom, they'll search everywhere for you. Wait, are they going to see us? They can't, right? No, if my past self saw me, that would be a paradox. But there's no simple way out of this. Future Sekimeiya will be powered off and Sai will stay next to it when it repowers. And the past Sekimeiya will send us too far to hide us, since it'll build up energy until your past self leaves. I doubt touching it twice would work due to the powered off time. It was a very similar dilemma to the one I'd faced when searching the drawers for a marking. However, the answer was much clearer. I need to be found then. If they find me, the search will stop before you're found. I nodded in the darkness. That's what you said, right? That I was still here even after I traveled from the bathroom? Yeah. But what about 9? The shadow won't move, will it? No, it will. What? Didn't you say that the recording was real? Yes, but before the exit opened, we went to the future. We appeared on January 5th where the recording occurred. So if you're out of that range, you'll stay here and be able to leave. Oh, that's what happened. Where will the range be? Here. Just before 9:05, Erina is going to activate it. The future Sekimeiya has yet to be brought here. It won't be a normal travel though. When she touches it, she'll trigger a chain reaction that will bring us to January 5th. We'll go 20 minutes to the future repeatedly. Akira will appear a bit later because he traveled directly from today to January 5th after escaping from the bedroom with Sai. Wait, a chain reaction? Do we just have to avoid being here when that happens? Not being here 20 minutes before it's activated would also avoid it. It won't be so simple though. Only you will be able to do that. Why? The people above us will search for you soon. They'll find you and then the shutter will open. You can leave this place. I can't do that though. There's something very important that still has to happen. On January 5th, I'll have to be in the tower in order to appear on November 24th with the Sekimeiya. If I stay here, I'll travel to the future one more time. That's when I'll finally be able to leave. Can't you just enter through the storeroom on the 5th? No, there are a few reasons why I can't. The 5th is 21 days away. It's possible that getting out today will prevent me from being in the tower in the future. I don't know what the police will do. If they find any evidence that incriminates me, being here on the 5th might not be possible. I'm sure my parents will keep trying to make me leave with them too. Staying here is the only way to guarantee it, and it's what I thought I'd do before I touched the Sekimeiya. Technically, I knew I'd be in Yoshibana on January 26th, but my parents had spent the previous 2 weeks telling me to go live with them. I feared they would give me no option after what had happened in the tower and force me to leave town until after January 5th. There are more reasons too. If both of us leave, the attic key will be taken from us, and we need it on the 26th. Leaving it somewhere until the 5th is risky, so I can just bring it there myself. You're right, when I traveled to the 15th I had the attic key, but the cabinet key was the only one that wasn't in my purse. I still don't get that. Cabinet key? If the police found you with it, they would take it, so the only way to get it to the 26th would be by doing the same thing as with the attics. Did you ever need to unlock the cabinet? No, I don't think so. I see. That's why then. There's no reason to bring it to the 26th, so you don't appear with it, or you didn't appear with it. Wait, so can't I do the same? We can both travel to the 5th. That's not true. On November 30th you appeared outside the gem shop, right? Yes. So on December 30th you'll be out of the tower. That's why you can't stay here. I see. It'll be fine. It'll just take a little longer. Yeah. You can stay at my house too. At least you'll be with Maxi and Umi. You were on January 5th once already, right? Was the tower not open? No. I don't know why, but it seems it won't open again after today. Yeah, that's what I thought. There was a mountain of things I wanted to tell her, but we went silent for a while. Both of us were even more tired than we appeared, and we had to speak very quietly. Everything we'd gone through since we'd stepped into the tower was like an endless expanse of tangled web. I could hardly even recall what things had been like before I knew what the Sekimeiya were capable of. But we had taken that day to its conclusion. Without any doubt, we were going to make it end. People had died in horrible ways. I didn't expect that the outside world would ever learn the full truth of what had happened within the tower, but at the very least Shiraya and I knew. We had built a better reality out there through our own actions. Surprisingly, I wasn't sad that the world where we had saved Mia wasn't our own. Ours wasn't perfect, and I had no idea what awaited us in the future, but all I wanted was to step outside with Shiraya. They'll leave soon. There's only 40 minutes left. Yeah, and I'll go to the attic and come back down. By the way, can I borrow your watch? It'll be useful to have it. Take it. Thanks. Our wait was short. When the time came, we heard the group walking to the hallway. I guess I'll go. Alright, I'll see you soon. Are you going to stay here? You won't be seen? I'm sure I'll be fine. Okay. I'll see you. Her shadowy figure slowly faded up the stairs. I recalled the time we'd found her drowsy in room A1 and the words she told me in hallway C. They were words I'd hated before, but they had grown to bring me happiness. The next time I heard sounds above me, she was already with them. I stayed behind the piled furniture in the corner of the room. Like I'd expected, a single person came down soon after. I couldn't see who they were, but it must have been Sai. He seemed to be looking around in the dark. I feared he would find me until his movements slowed down. He'd kneeled under a table and stopped. I bet he's looking for a good place to hide the Sekimeiya. Did he find one under the table? I was doing my best to conceal my breathing, but he remained there for a long time. Finally, he seemed to decide he was done and walked up the stairs. I hardly had time to exhale before he was back. There was a glaring difference. The area between his hands was glowing. Once more he kneeled under the table and ran back up the stairs as soon as he was finished. The Sekimeiya wasn't simply on the floor. From what I could see, he had tucked it just under the surface of the table. There seemed to be a tiny space where he'd left it. Now my past self will find the past Sekimeiya in the security room, and we'll all wait out the last few minutes in the lobby. I stared at the glowing numbers on the watch until 9:01 came. At that point, someone began to carefully descend the stairs. While I couldn't see their face, I knew it was Erina. She stood still until something caught her eye. Perhaps Sai thought he had found a good hiding spot, but he hadn't factored in the mechanical room's darkness. The faint illumination gave it away after Erina looked around a little. She approached it and crouched. Her figure covered the light and suddenly it was gone. What? However, Erina was still there. Her outline had disappeared because the light had moved. The faint ceiling light had turned off and the Sekimeiya's glow couldn't be seen. I hadn't felt anything myself, but I knew. I was on January 5th of 2012. Since I'd been in a mechanical room during both recurring locations, I had travelled seamlessly, and as my vision was more adjusted to the darkness, I could make out that a few pieces of furniture had moved slightly. Oblivious, Erina called out. To her, the Sekimeiya had simply disappeared. Then she walked to the stairs, likely thinking she had travelled to the past. It's still there. The Sekimeiya is on the floor. It's rolled up to the wall. Hey, what's going on? That time when the door to the lobby opened, light didn't fill the stairs. The whole building was devoid of it. The watch still showed 21:03, but that was far from the real time. I could hear the others shouting above me. The shutter wasn't opening. I can't get out yet. I'll need to have both Sekimeiya after the watch shows 22:30. I was forcing Shiryu to wait, but I had to stay there for a little while longer. When 21:50 came, I approached the stairs. At that time, my past self had travelled to the past. That meant that the others were soon to notice my absence. I grabbed the future Sekimeiya and stepped up the stairs. I could no longer see the walls of the lobby, but unfortunately, I knew I'd have to see them once more in the future. I couldn't shake off the anticipation of stepping out. Even though I'd already left once before, it didn't feel like it. I walked to the crystal room the past me had travelled from, B5. After feeling the floor, I realized that the powered off past Sekimeiya was there. For the time being, I went to the crystal room at my right and put both inside the temperature regulation cabinet, setting it to where I believed 0 degrees Celsius was. It seemed the curtains were all still raised. I could have gone to the attic, but the last thing I wanted was to have to explain myself to anyone. My sole desire was for the final few minutes to elapse. I walked to the lobby. I could feel the shutter with my hands. I'd waited patiently all day, but I couldn't take it anymore. I needed time to move faster. The goal was right there, and I was the only person who knew. Minutes after I'd started staring at Shiryu's watch, I heard voices in the far hallway. Atsuki, where the fuck? I kept looking down. It was already past 10. Wait, are they actually searching for me? Sai's yells got closer and closer. It seemed he was looking in every room. This piece of shit. The Sekimeiya's not in the cabinet. Fuck, there's no way he'll find them, right? Look, I found a Sekimeiya. What? No, that's the third one. He'd found it in another room in hallway B. He had plenty of energy to spare as I heard him running to the event room and leaving it there. Fortunately, that caused him not to find the real ones. Atsuki, I know you're here. I didn't move. The darkness was all I needed to stay hidden. He went to the mechanical room. Maybe he noticed the Sekimeiya hidden was no longer there, but he didn't say anything. Afterward, he walked back with the others. Akra was there. Hopefully the recording of him had been obtained by the police. Erina and Isla were the last two. Their stories had been tragic in different ways. They were together again, but it was possible that Erina would never understand that the Isla she'd entered the tower with was gone. What is going to happen with them? The police must have found her corpse, but now they'll see that she's still alive. I suppose the case is similar with Naomi. I felt their voices fading. They were going back up. Now that I think about it, it was when I traveled to 9 that my hand injury disappeared. Even though I only went 45 minutes to the past, it took me many days to reach the proportional future. Right now I have Shiryu's watch and the rusty key. When I was briefly at 9, I might not have realized that. However, after Shiryu made me travel to the 15th, there's no way I had them. I suppose that makes sense, since that location was based on a point much farther into the future. That's still a little strange though, because Shiryu did have the rusty key. I stopped myself there. I really didn't care anymore. No matter how many details had flown far over my head, I didn't care about any of them. I stood there for what seemed like hours, but eventually 22:30 came. I tried to force myself to breathe properly. It wasn't over yet. In the staff room there was a keyring that I needed, and I could obtain. I already had it in my pocket though. I forgot that I need to go to the attic. I thought I'd never see that place again. When I'd thought up the loop to appear on November 24th, I'd imagined appearing with the Sekimeiya in a suitcase. The one in the security room was locked away, so I had to get the one on the attic sofa. I left the watch behind so that it wouldn't cast any light and gradually ascended. Every floor was dark and my steps echoed more loudly than I liked. Once I reached the highest door, I saw that the living room was empty. I was leaving my footprints behind, but it didn't matter. Once I'd taken the suitcase, I dashed back, leaving that place for good. I took both Sekimeiya from the cold of the cabinet with my bare hands. The instant I activated them, I traveled the smallest fraction of time, enough for it to have no real effect. With the suitcase in hand, I descended to the lobby and sat on the floor. Then I put the Sekimeiya inside it and placed both of my hands on it. I suddenly realized a key had fallen from my pocket before I'd even taken it out willingly. That had been my plan before I'd gone to the 24th. I'd wanted to appear with the Sekimeiya, but for that they had to be powered off in the future. It was very hard to calculate the exact second I needed to have them, so the position I was in was a good way to cover a larger stretch of time. Every time a Sekimeiya powered on, my hands would immediately power it off, resulting in no effect whatsoever. Furthermore, they emitted no light, so nobody could see me in the dark. However, I'd calculated enough. I only had to be there for 10 more minutes. They were the last 10 minutes I'd spent trapped in that place. The suitcase was on my lap, and both of my hands were planted firmly on the Sekimeiya's surfaces, too far apart to overlap their minuscule ranges. It was the end. I knew I was in the position where I'd appeared on the 24th. I couldn't check the time anymore. The watch was hidden behind the reception desk. Instead, I counted the seconds inside my head. She's there right now, I'm sure. Time had passed. It hadn't frozen. It hadn't forbidden me from taking the final step. I closed the suitcase and stood up, grabbing the fallen key. Before anything else, I went to retrieve Shiria's watch. I opened the hallway A door. Each step I took toward the storeroom was more surreal than the last. I took out the rusty key and suddenly understood why I wouldn't have it on the 26th. I was there. I could feel the dusty couch and the wall wasn't blocking my way. With bated breath, I approached the final door, the one that could only be opened from the outside. And it was open. And then the credits rolled. That was a nice way of ending it. I was kind of wondering whether they would end it with kind of more of a and then this happened and they lived happily ever after or something like that, where they would kind of explain what happened to them in the future. But I'm perfectly happy with this ending as well. I don't know how long these credits are gonna be. Probably not too long. We'll watch through them. I don't think we need to skip them. Unless it'll go on for like 15 minutes, but usually indie game credits don't take that long. Anyway, I enjoyed the game a lot, for sure. Even though, obviously, yes, looking back, maybe it wasn't ideal to play it over a longer period of time. Just because, obviously, I'd forgotten a lot of the finer details that happened at the very beginning of the game that I obviously couldn't remember almost a year later. I do think it didn't detract a lot from my enjoyment of it though. I don't think it mattered too much. It just meant that I feel like I knew what I could solve and what what would take me like hours of reading through past dialogue to get to any reasonable theory. So yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I hope you did too watching. And yeah, I hope you might check out some of my other playthroughs as well on YouTube. I've got some other good games. I've mentioned the Zodiac Trial in, I think, the last episode, maybe the one before last. There's some others too. Hopefully there will be some more great games in the future as well. This is actually very long. Can I skip past it? I don't think I can, actually. So we'll just sit through it anyway. And yeah, I guess I will make a cut here to go after the credits are over, and then I'll come back with some last words. Reconnecting. I don't actually know if they're currently in the process of making another game. I haven't seen anything from them. And there is a post-credit scene. I was wondering about whether that would happen. And that's why I figured I'd come back. Or like keep the recording open. Atsuki, you son of a bitch. Open the fucking door. I knew you just left. I heard you talking with Shiri. You better come back right now. Atsuki, piece of shit. I'll convince everyone this was all you're doing if you don't open this fucking door. At least tell the police we're here. I'm fucking hungry, man. I don't think he's coming. You just shut up. Atsuki, you think I won't tell them that you left with the Sekimeiya? This is your last chance to come back. Atsuki! Tips have unlocked. Okay. If you go through the game again, you'll find words and phrases colored in red. You may also find spinning orbs in the bottom right corner of the screen. Clicking on them will give extra information on matters not covered in the main story and solve lingering mysteries. One of them serves as the epilogue for Shiria's story. If you skip through the game without unseen text checked, you will be stopped on new tips. You can reread any tip by clicking the new tips button in the menu. To advance, first click both the red text and spinning orb. While in a tip, saving and search jumps are disabled. Okay. Tip orbs. An orb is used when an inline tip is not viable. This could be to explain the setting, the chapter name, and so on. Okay. So there is other stuff that will be explained, lingering mysteries. I don't think I'll go through them, to be honest. I think this is a nice point of ending it. You can probably just look up some remaining mysteries. Maybe at some point in the future, I will just skip through it and read through a little bit of it, because there definitely are some parts that I'm still interested in. But I'm probably not going to make a video on it. The chart has unlocked. A flowchart that follows every character in each of the 3 worlds has unlocked. Oh, that would be very helpful. You can highlight individual characters to follow their path. Additionally, you can view the location of the 3 Sekimeiya at all times. Access the chart by clicking on the chart button on the menu. The gallery and stats screens have unlocked. On the stats screen, you can review Chapter 5 answers and compare them with other players. Oh, well, actually, I will go through that because I am curious. You can also answer new questions about the game and see what other people thought, and take a look at data from your own playthrough and the entire player base. I find that really cool. That was one of my favorite scenes. Like, obviously, I like the whole game, but this specific chapter where we were essentially experiencing Atsuki's short story was one of my favorite parts of it. So to see that room again as the title screen, I really like that. You have the gallery here with 8 of the CGs. Sort of the more significant ones, I guess. Okay, the music room as well. If you want to check out any of the music, I'll scroll through it. You can pause. I think there's probably better ways of doing that, but there you go. You wouldn't know what it's called anyway, or what the, whatever. Stats. Actually, where's the flow chart? Can I, if I were to load, I don't want to load anything, but if I were to say start or something like that, there's the chart now. Welcome to the chart. You'll be able to follow the movements of every character and uncover little secrets about the story. Both of these nodes represent either a character or a group of characters. To find out information about a node, you can hover over it. Hovering reveals that the nodes represent Atsuki and Shiria from World A. Zoom in with the mouse wheel to view this information without hovering. Okay, both nodes meet into one. This example illustrates Atsuki and Shiria meeting and staying together. After meeting, Atsuki travels to the past, as shown by the orange line. Shortly after, Shibuya travels to the future, as shown by the blue line. Eventually, they reunite. Something very important to keep in mind is that time isn't to scale in this chart. In other words, the distance between nodes doesn't indicate how much time passes. Yeah, that would be horrible, probably to make look even somewhat decent. The path ends when they world switch to B. Clicking on world switch node will bring you to the moment they appear in that world. We're now in world B. Erna B exists at this point in time, but the color of her node seems to be different. And when they meet, their node turns yellow. This is because their original worlds are different. Click on the legend button to display all the possible color combinations. Okay. You can also use the world buttons to move between worlds. Let's return to world A. This is Atsuki and Shiryu's path before world switching to B. You can select a single character to focus on using the character select menu. Atsuki has been selected. Only the paths that involve him are highlighted. If a node has an asterisk, it contains a perspective shown in the game. Click on it to jump to that point in the story. And you can hover over the information nodes at the top to view the location of the free Sekimeiya and elevator. The important times are displayed at the bottom of the chart. That's all you need to know. Well, it's a lot I need to know. Okay. Access to charts. Yeah, that's what I figured. There's a lot here. Okay. Interesting. But it's not actually... Okay, well, that's even worse. All right, a lot happened here. And in World C, well, also a lot happened. World A is kind of the most uneventful, I guess. The shortest at least. Interesting. Okay. And where was the stats were in the main menu? Yes. We will look at the stats. Answered 47 out of 94 questions correctly. Mixed panel exception. Mixed panel error. Your plan does not allow API calls. Upgrade at mixedpanel.com/pricing. Whoopsie. Devs have apparently decided it's not necessary anymore. So unfortunately, we can't actually call the API and see what the general public has selected, unless I click on update data. But yeah, well, that is unfortunate. All right. Anyway, that's fine. We can answer some of these. I don't know if they'll actually receive our answers, but would you ever replay? Probably not. The game was still very good, but it would take a long time. Did you try to... Oh, well, I'll still answer. If any of the devs ever watch this, I'll still answer. Did you try to solve the mysteries? Yes, I tried. Not for every single one, because there was some where I just knew I wasn't going to come to a conclusion unless I spent a long time of it, but I tried to solve the mysteries. How much did you know before playing? Nothing. I mean, it's kind of between. I knew a little bit, but not much. Like, basically nothing. Like, I probably read the description of it. So, basically nothing. Is this one of your first plot-focused visual novels? No. Did you notice references to other works? Not that I can recall. How did you find out about this game? Game store, I guess? The Steam game store. How do you pronounce Isla? Isla. I guess this would be the closest, right? It's always hard for me to tell with these because obviously my native language isn't English. So when you just write it out like that, then it's kind of hard to know. Is that like how these Isla? No. The question to me is that Isla or is it Isla? I think this is the like Isla. I do like how the game realized that people would probably pronounce her different ways. Favorite Sekimeiya? Ooh. Probably the past one. Chapter rank, best to worst. Best chapter. It's hard. Honestly, I'll leave that unanswered because I can't fully remember what happened in which chapter, and I feel it would be unfair. Honestly, maybe chapter 1 the worst. Not necessarily because of, I don't know, anything bad. It's just it took a lot of time to set up all of the characters, all of the events, and there were definite stretches in there where not a lot happened. and it kind of was a bit boring from time to time. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but, you know, character ranks, best to worst. Is it gonna click and select like the best character? In which case, let me say I liked Sai a lot. Let me go Atsuki, Shiraya, Akuro. Isla, Mia, Kate, Aaron and Naomi share last place, but I'll select it that way. Submit. Special function rank. Best to worst. What did I use? I mean, the chart is great, but I unlocked it after the game was over. The map was kind of useful occasionally. The notes would be very cool, but I didn't use them as much as I could have. I do think the search function is definitely the best function. More games should have that. It's a great function. Then I always like stats. If they would work properly, I'd... If the API plan hadn't run out of calls, then that would be even better. The map, the notes, honestly, notes go in free chat, chart goes in 4. It's really good, but after the game, it's not that helpful anymore. Map and playtime, I mean, I have a playtime on Steam. Time data only extracted from players who took 10 more. Well, yeah, I can't call the API, so much for that. Okay, well, and with that, I will end this playthrough of the Sekimeiya Spun Glass right here. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope I'll see you again in a future project. Until then, bye.